Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us right before the holiday and throughout 2014. We really appreciate your time and attention, and we hope that these webinars have been helpful and useful for you. Today we have a two-part webinar. We're going to discuss two separate subjects. One is SP ratio, or Scotopic Photopic ratio, the phenomenon that explains why cooler colors and higher CRI have better visual acuity with human eyes. And the other half, the part two, will be delivered lumens versus total lumens, which is still a question that we are asked about in tech support here at MaxLite very, very often, which is something like, how can my 250-watt HID lamp with 24,000 lumens be replaced by something that's 140 watts with 4,500 lumens? So the difference is delivered lumens versus total lumens, and we'll break that down for you today. Without any further delays, let's get started. Part one. Scotopic Photopic ratio. Photopic Scotopic ratio. The issue is that human perception of a lighted environment is driven by both photopic and scotopic vision, but only photopic vision is typically considered applicable to light metering. In other words, when we whip out our digital equipment or our light measuring equipment, we are only reading and measuring the photopic. We are not, in most cases, even considering the Kelvin temperature or the CRI, but only pure lumens. Photopic, known as light or daylight vision, has to do with the cones in your eyes, higher sensitivity and brighter light, peak sensitivity towards the red, basis for modern photometry that we are still using today. Scotopic, known as the dark or night vision, has to do with the rods in your eye, higher sensitivity and speed in different spectral ranges, peak sensitivity towards the blue, and higher color temperatures, 5,000 plus. Rods are active in bright light and do not contribute to the perception of brightness. Scotopic contributes to improved acuity, but this is not yet well defined. Higher scotopic sources can provide equivalent brightness with lower energy. So, we all know this because we have taken out older technologies that had a low CRI, like an HID, and replaced it with something that was less lumens, that had a much higher Kelvin temperature and a higher CRI. And for some reason, even though there's less lumens, the customer or the end user is very satisfied and believes he has more light. This is explained by the scotopic side of things. So let's combine the two. There's usually complexity whenever you mix physics with biology. The physics side of things is very easy to measure. It's well defined. It's predictable. But the biological sides of things, well, this is very inconsistent. It's subjective from one set of human eyes to the next set of human eyes. Let's take a look at some photographs real quick. We have here three sets of photographs. We have this automobile lot that was lighted with a high CRI, high Kelvin temperature on the left, and just next to it on the right is a very low CRI with a warmer color temperature. You can see the detail of the cars much better in the higher Kelvin, higher CRI. Let's jump over to the right side where we have two parking lots, one with a high CRI, high Kelvin, the other with a high lumen but low CRI, low Kelvin. Visually, I think you can see better on the left, but no one would disagree on the bottom left, the left versus the right. The left where we have higher CRI, higher Kelvin temperature. On the right where we have higher lumens but lower CRI and lower Kelvin temperature. So you can see visually this makes a huge difference, even caught by a camera. Now, let's talk about SP ratio. These numbers float around on the internet. These are rather conservative numbers. I've seen numbers that have much higher SP ratio values attached, but we try to be very conservative here. Let's take a look first at the different SP ratios, and what you'll see is the lower the CRI, the warmer the Kelvin temperature, then the lower the SP ratio. The higher the Kelvin temperature, the higher the CRI, then the higher the SP ratio. So a low-pressure sodium, which is by some considered to be one of the most efficient light sources out there because it has a very, very high lumen per watt, but actually it's a terrible quality of light, terrible CRI, very unnatural warm color, so therefore it has a SP ratio of 0.2. This will all come together in a moment, folks, whereas LED at 5,000 K with a high CRI can have almost a 2.0 SP ratio. And let's take a look at these photographs here on the right. These are 3000 K at 50 CRI, 3000 K at 80 CRI. You can see the difference that the CRI makes. You can actually see more detail in her skin and her hair. When you jump to a high Kelvin with a high CRI, it opens up even more, becomes a clearer photograph. So let's break it down. If I've got a high-pressure sodium lamp that has 24,500 lumens, and it has an SP ratio of 0.62 because it has a pretty poor CRI and a warmer than natural Kelvin temperature. When you do the 24.5 times the 0.62, you've got about 15,000 what they call scotopic lumens. You have 24,500 photopic lumens. You have 15,200 scotopic lumens. Now, let's take a 140-watt fixture that has photopic lumen of about 8,400 lumens, an SP ratio of 1.96. This gives us a scotopic of 16,500 versus 15,200. To the human eye, this appears to be about the same. In most polls that I've taken, people find that the lower photopic lumens seems to be brighter. So remember, CRI and Kelvin temperature contribute greatly to this, and I think the reason is because of the natural sun. On a clear day when there's no clouds in the sky, it's about 5,500 Kelvin and 100 CRI. Of course, the natural sunlight is the benchmark for CRI. And human beings have evolved for a very long time under that light, and the closer we can reproduce that high CRI and that high Kelvin temperature in indoor environments, the better visual acuity we have just due to man evolving under this light. I'm here in New Jersey. If I'm talking to somebody out on the West Coast and I say a green pine tree, they can picture the same shade of green in their mind's eye that I'm picturing because it's all under the same natural light, that same 5,000 or 5,500 Kelvin sky at 100 CRI. So it's consistent. But when you move indoors, well, depending on the light source that you have, the CRI of that light source, the Kelvin of that light source, it may be a distorting light, it may be a good light. We've all experienced different levels of or different qualities of light, and I think this helps to explain it. Folks, SP ratio is something that's a little subjective today, although the IES is working on it, and when they publish SP ratio numbers, MaxLite will use those numbers. And as I say, today we are being very conservative compared to many others that are out there in the field. Let's jump into part 2, which is delivered lumens versus total lumens. We're going to start with total lumens. An omnidirectional light source requires about 80% of the output to be redirected. So what we've got here are two different fixture styles. We're looking at, on the left, a linear T8, let's say 2x4 fixture or a high bay fixture with 3 lamps, and we're looking at it from a profile view. And on the right, we have a high bay type fixture with an HID type lamp, whether it be metal halide or high pressure sodium. Now, when we say that 80% of the light needs to be redirected, what we mean is that the majority of the reflections are directed back into the bulb or the light source. This is just inherent with these technologies, whether they be tubular linear fluorescence or a HID lamp in a high bay fixture. Energy is lost and compounded with every reflection. I think we know this. I think you know that every time you bend light, reflect light, split light, that it loses a little bit. And when you have direct light going from the light source to the work surface, that is as efficient as you can be. When that light has reflected inside the fixture a few times before landing on the work surface, that is less efficient. What you see here is the red, which represents light that actually never leaves the fixture. It just bounces between the light source and the inside of the fixture. And in green, what you see is light that's reflected once, at least once, before it leaves the fixture. Most light traces require multiple reflections before hitting the work surface. About 15% or less of the light in these traditional fixtures actually trace back to the work surface, which is what the yellow represents. So here what we see is about 15% of the light going from the light source directly to the work surface, whereas we have about 80% of the light that either reflects between the light source and the fixture and never leaves the fixture, or reflects from the light source to the fixture one or more times before it hits the work surface. So this is the total lumen side of things. Let's jump over to the delivered lumen side of things, where we had about 80% of the light that was reflecting one or more times. With a direct lit, with the delivered lumens, we have over 90% of the light that is delivered right from the light source. 80% of the total light output is delivered directly to the work surface, or more, depending on the efficiency of the fixture. The remaining 20% of the light is reflected once only before it leaves the fixture to the work surface, and in a high bay type or a R type, reflector type LED bulb or fixture, where all the LEDs are on the surface, 100% of that light is landing on the work surface. It's not reflecting at all because there are actually no innards to the fixture. So the high bay, in this case, can be much more efficient than other type fixtures, but notice that we are not losing any light or trapping any light within the fixture. None of the lumens are reflected back to the bulb, back to the light source, which would be completely wasted. So total lumens, we see that we have some light that actually never leaves the fixture. We have some light that reflects one or more times before it leaves the fixture, and we have a relatively low percentage of light that leaves the fixture directly to the work surface, whereas with delivered lumens, the majority of the light leaves the fixture directly to the work surface, and the rest is reflected once before it leaves the fixture, but 100% of it is leaving the fixture, which is your takeaway. Now, instead of lumen output, the best and most relevant measurement for evaluating LED fixtures and for making accurate comparisons with conventional light fixtures is delivered light. The formal term for measurement of delivered light is a luminescence. Roughly speaking, a luminescence is the intensity of the light falling on the surface area or the work area. If the area is measured in square feet, the unit of a luminescence is foot candles. If it's measured in square meters, the unit of a luminescence is lux. So Europe uses lux. Here in the States, we use foot candles. And this is the true way to compare the old non-LED light source fixtures to the new LED light source fixtures, and that is to have a lighting layout done. And we can do apples to apples in the form of foot candles or in some cases lux. Delivered light, aka delivered lumens, describes how much useful light a light fixture can deliver to a task area, counting any wasted light. Light can be wasted in a lot of ways. It can be partially blocked by a poorly designed fixture. It can be emitted in a direction away from the task area, or it can be lost through filtering, lensing, fixture positioning. There's lots of ways to lose light. A fixture's total lumen output does not account for the wasted light. Because LED lighting fixtures are fundamentally directional, LED fixtures typically waste much less light than their conventional counterparts and deliver more of their total light output to the target area or the work surface. An LED light fixture with a lower rated lumens, therefore, may deliver the same or more useful light or foot candles in a given application. Dan's asking, isn't foot candles a bit misleading when you're comparing HPS to LED? Dan, I would beg to differ and say to the contrary, it is really the only way to measure accurately. We can look at cut sheets that talk about lumen outputs, but that doesn't tell us how much foot candles we're going to have in our given application. When you do a lighting layout, one with the LED technology, one with the, let's say, incumbent technology, it's 100%. Those foot candles are exactly what you're going to have, and I would say that it is the best way to compare. Otherwise, you don't really know what you're getting without a layout. There are other ways. Conventional lighting fixtures are tested using a relative photometry. In relative photometry, luminaires and the lamps used within them are tested separately. Let's understand that. It's a completely different science. Measuring the light output of a bulb is a completely different science than measuring the light output of a fixture. I'm going to interrupt very quickly. Nora has a question. Is there a tool that we can suggest for doing lighting layouts? There are many lighting layout software packages out there. Some are free, but the best way is to leave it to the professionals. Most manufacturers will do a lighting layout for you. Certainly MaxLite will do lighting layouts for you. So it takes all the guesswork out. You'll know exactly how many foot candles you'll have before you spend a dime on the project. Now, back to traditional fixtures, it's important for us to understand that the measurement of a luminaire photometry is a completely different engineering discipline than measuring the lamp light output. LED fixtures, however, because LEDs are typically inseparable from the luminaires or integral to the luminaires, which is certainly the case for most of MaxLite's products, the LED and the fixture are one. They are a single unit. Relative photometry is inappropriate for measuring the light output of LED fixtures. It wouldn't make sense to read just the light output of the LEDs themselves when the delivered light is dependent on the fixture construction and design. I'm going to jump to Steve. Isn't there an issue with software like AGI not taking Kelvin or CRI into consideration. Actually, Steve, the CRI and the Kelvin are built into the IES file, not into the software. The Lumen outputs, the CRI are different from one to the next, but that's all captured in the IES file. And Jillian recommends using Light Pro 2.0. It works well, and she's had some good experience with it. Thank you all for the feedback. And I'm sorry if bouncing back and forth between the questions and the slides is a little disconcerting. I hope that you're able to follow me. And you'll all get a copy of this following the presentation as well. Now, the approved procedures for testing conditions for absolute photometry are spelled out in the electrical and photomic measurement of solid-state lighting products. The publication is known as LM79 by the IESNA in early 2008. And in absolute photometry, only fixture lumens are measured and not the individual LED lumens, because a separate measurement of the LEDs independent of fixture is neither possible or meaningful. Fixture efficacy, which compares lamp lumens to fixture lumens, therefore has no meaning for an LED lighting fixture. So a quick recap there. All of us need to have a valid comparison to an LED fixture to a non-LED fixture. If a lighting layout is not possible, then get your hands on the Zonal Lumen Summary Report for the old technology. In this case, we've got a summary report for a under-cabinet fluorescent fixture. The under-cabinet takes two T2 fluorescent lamps for a total of 860 lumens from those lamps. But the fixture output is 575 lumens. So only about 67% of the total lamp lumens is actually leaving the fixture. That means that 33% of the light produced by the fixture is wasted or lost within the fixture housing. When comparing a T2 under-cabinet fixture with an LED-based under-cabinet fixture, you must compare the LED-based total lumens with the efficiency-corrected lumen total of your fluorescent. The best way, however, is to do a lighting layout if that's at all possible. Folks, I really appreciate your time and attention. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found this useful. For those of you who've got colleagues who might have focused on different parts of the industry, and today, maybe they were wire and cable before, and today they find themselves in the lighting business, send them to university.maxlite.com. They can earn their lighting degree. It's completely free of cost and commercials. It doesn't mention MaxLite once throughout the coursework. It's true lighting, folks, and it's completely free. Although it's free, you get what you pay for. There's no credentials. You get a nice little plaque from Blake after you've graduated the 3 courses, but there's no actual accreditation. And remember also that we are here to support you with product and lighting training. If you ever need any customized training for you, your customers, or their customers, don't hesitate to call on us. We'd be happy to help. Remember, we have Joe Pater on the payroll. Joe is here to help you get as many of those utility rebate dollars as possible. Utilize Joe. Feel free. Folks, thanks again for your time and attention. Have a great day.